We will adjourn as the Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as the Library District Board of Directors.
On the opening prayer, it said that you would be guided by God. I think this is just, like you said, an insane situation.
ARS 133507, crimes against children.
We've listened to the public.
When truth is hushed and silence defends.
We had a conversation, we had a meeting on Monday about these particular books in our library.
The only reason you had a meeting on Monday is because certain individuals have been behind the scenes making sure that you're aware of what the law is.
It's in process right now to put forth a program that protects our youngest minors, our children, from having access to these books.
Where's the shield for the family tree? Where is the urgency?
We're not going to ban books, but we're going to put something together to make it appropriately put in the library so that a child has to either check it out, get permission.
Innocence lost at the library.
Permission from their parent. It's just a common sense approach.
Still pure for shelves, once safe, now unsure.
We heard you loud and clear.
Gaslit by those sworn to serve.
It's something that's very important to me as well.
Where is the urgency? How can it be when truth is hushed and silence defends? Who will stand for the children?
It's just a process to make sure that we follow the legal ramifications.
But the problem with this so far is that the board is getting advice from attorneys at the Maricopa County Attorney's Office who are also responsible for prosecuting these types of crimes in this jurisdiction. It's called the conflict of interest.
Now months go by, excuses and spin.
Protect the First Amendment.
But free speech should never sacrifice children.
And some other things as it relates to the law.
I just want to point out one thing. This has been reported to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, this particular issue. It is in violation of a criminal statute.
ARS 133507, crimes against children.
133507 makes it clear it is unlawful to knowingly furnish or make available to a minor any harmful items that is obscene or sexually explicit in nature.
So it's in progress right now. It moves at the speed of government. We have to make
exposure to sexually explicit books at an early age, too early age, can cause harm to a child's sexual development and can lead to relational problems later in life.
You're all parents and grandparents. You have nieces and nephews, I'm sure. I would just think you would want to err on the side of caution where children are concerned when you're funding things.
Well, who gives the power to these schools to have these perverted books? You do. You hold the purse strings.
When you're funding things that could potentially damage them traumatically for life or cause them to go down roads that you probably wouldn't want your own kids or grandkids or niece or nephew to go down.
Hello, my name is Kyler. I'm 16 years old, and I'm also a junior in high school. I don't think that people understand that when you have sexually explicit material in front of children, it makes it's so normal in their minds. So when somebody else touches them, they're not gonna think of that as, oh, that's wrong, that shouldn't have been happening.
I'm a junior in high school, and predators know how vulnerable children are. They take advantage of their innocence, their trust, and their lack of understanding. Young minds are like open doors, eager to learn, grow, and absorb the world around them. When they're exposed to trauma, especially at a young age, it can permanently damage their ability to trust, to learn, and to develop in healthy ways.
Crimes against children.
Parents are discovering that the public library makes sexually explicit, graphic, mature, and inappropriate content readily available to young children.
The problem is activists have been manipulating the people, and most citizens have no idea what is in the libraries.
Over 60 years, I relied on the library to be a safe haven for my innocent children and grandchildren.
Predators exploit this. They slip into the gaps where supervision is missing and where protections fall short. That's why it's important that environments are meant to support learning, like libraries and schools that are truly safe. These are places where young minds are shaped.
I have emailed all of you a list of 282 explicit child books that are currently in the Maricopa County Library system. I verified this online. They're either available physically or digitally.
That have been rated by book logs as a 3 or above, meaning that they are either sexually explicit or inappropriate for children.
Can it be? Where is the shield for the family tree? Where is the urgency?
to ensure that the selection of books offered to kids are educational, entertaining, and appropriate without having the parents have to worry about what their child is reading while they're in the library.
The young adult section, right at the entrance to the children's department, I noticed one of the books we've raised concerns about in past meeting. This book is gay.
Supervisors gaslighting and stalling.
It looked completely child-friendly, but I recognized the title, and I knew it contained explicit sexual content.
This book is gay. This right here shows you how to have boy-on-boy sex. It lets you know where to stick it, where it licks and where it feels good. These are our children's department. These are actually in some of the schools as well.
The North Valley Regional Library up at Anthem School, where my son attended, does have the books she mentioned still in the library, available through electronic checkout, which I would assume would allow anybody to get them.
It was right there in plain sight, eye level for children. No warning, no label, no barrier between the book and a curious young reader.
Now, they risk immediate exposure to prominently displayed books which are graphic and inappropriately labeled and marketed to children as young as 6 years old.
Children are naturally curious, open-hearted, and trusting. That's what makes them so vulnerable. They don't have the tools yet to process harmful content or recognize manipulation. Predators exploit this. They slip into the gaps where supervision is missing and where protections fall short.
I am a member of Gays Against Groomers. We do not support the sexualization of our children. Our community is being used as a shield to push content that many of us firmly reject. Just because someone is gay doesn't mean they support the agenda.
That you realize that there are books in children's sections and teen sections that do not belong there at all. I believe that the board knows that there's a problem and that you have already decided to do something with this pilot program. I think it's a good start, but it is very limited. It doesn't go far enough, and it makes it difficult for parents to have to go into the libraries and specifically name different books on it.
The long-standing practice of ignoring input from library card holders is not going to end in a day unless you replace the employees who are accustomed to a lack of accountability to parents and concerned community members. For example, I filled out a form on August 4th, 2023 to have an egregious adult-themed graphic novel, that's a hardback comic book, have that moved from the 12 to 18-year-old section to the adult section. And to this day, it's still on the same shelf.
So it's in progress right now. It moves at the speed of government.
I would be happy to share the year-plus worth of emails to public library employees who reject feedback from the public.
Come to here. So here's what we're asking. You immediately initiate a content review of the youth sections for all publicly funded libraries and schools. We can provide a list of books that have been removed from other children's sections as a helpful mechanism to protect the children's innocence and to protect our county from being sued as the public is becoming more aware of this crime against children. Segregate inappropriate content from the children's department.
A system where you'll start to move books to an appropriate parent section.
Where is the shield for the family tree? Where is the urgency?
3, establish a parental oversight committee to guide and review materials. 4,
and we'd also like to have a rating system of some kind at some point for you to consider so that parents know that there are certain, just like movie theaters, where there's a rating system that protects kids, and parents at least know that there is a given level of protection.
4, train staff and leadership on the standards and the legal boundaries.
Innocence lost at the library.
In fact, my librarian told me to stop emailing. If your employees were responsive to our concerns, I wouldn't be here today addressing you.
This right here is a book called It Is Perfectly Normal. A year ago, we brought it to every one of the board members' attention. This book says that it's for 10 and up. On the spine, it says Children Department.
Where is the urgency? How can it be?
Here on page 9, it shows you how to have graphic sex, a female on top of a male. Here we've got 2 women straddling each other, getting it on in bed. Page 9, Here we have two guys getting it on in bed. Page 9, 10 and up. One thing in there that I noticed they use as a scapegoat, it's called educational purposes. I'd like to take you then to page 89. It describes what pornography is in this book. It says you may, on sites such as photos or videos of naked bodies or sexual acts that are created to make a person feel sexy, excited. These kinds of photos and videos are called pornography. This educational book lets you know this book is pornography. This is under your peripheral. You know, this is the very example that I gave the Board of Supervisors when it was brought to their attention a year ago.
I don't think that people understand that when you have sexually explicit material in front of children, it makes it so normal in their minds. So when somebody else touches them, they're not going to think of that as, oh, that's wrong, that shouldn't have been happening. It is so frequent and not talked about at all how other kids frequently do touch other kids, and it's horrible. And having pornographic material or anything not safe for work in children's sections, especially as young as they are, is going to do nothing but cause so much like child-on-child sexual assault. And they're both victims in that situation. And
you should find someone who is independent to give you advice on these types of issues, independent legal counsel, so that you can appropriately address them. Because why would a prosecutor who's also responsible for defending the Board of Supervisors...
Of the supervisors, I'm Tom Liddy. I'm the chief of the Civil Division, and I work for Rachel Mitchell, who is empowered via the state constitution and the laws of Arizona to provide legal advice to you, your standing body. And
when truth is hushed and silence defends.
And please find independent counsel, because the Maricopa County Attorney's Office is not representing the interests of the public on this issue. It's protecting you from liability.
The parents' rights to protect their kids.
The people are watching, the parents are watching, attorneys are watching.
This is now a matter of legal liability. It's not our opinion. Failing to act from this point forward will not be viewed as negligence. It will be viewed as an intentional violation.
Where is the urgency? How can it be when truth is hushed and silence defends?
Sure, that's why it's important that environments are meant to support learning, like libraries and schools that are truly safe. These are places where young minds are shaped. And if we aren't careful, those places can become where innocence is lost.
You just take that in consideration.
And question public libraries that promote these explicit books and schools.
Where is the shield for the family tree? Where is the urgency?
Children also deserve safe spaces at home, at school, and in the media they consume. These are supposed to be the places they grow, not where they're harmed.
Having pornographic material or anything not safe for work in children's sections, especially as young as they are, is going to do nothing but cause so much like child-on-child sexual assault. And they're both victims in that situation. It needs to be more done, in my opinion.
Where is the urgency? How can it be when truth is hushed and silence defends? Who will stand for the children?
And if we aren't careful, those places can become where innocence is lost.
Board, this is a follow-up regarding the perverted sexually explicit books still sitting in the children's section of our public libraries. Books you are all aware of now. Each of you are given a packet showing the titles and specific examples on page 9 of It's Perfectly Normal, and the definition of porn on page 89, proving these so-called educational books are sexually charged and in violation of ARS 13-3507, which is clear, sexually explicit material does not belong in a child's hands. You've seen the evidence and you've been asked to act. Books like It's Perfectly Normal and This Book is Gay were shared with you in detail. These are not vague concerns. They're printed, highlighted, and placed right into your hands. There is record of Jeremy Reeder addressing this issue on March 17th, 1 week before your private library meeting, where Tom Libby gave a 1-hour presentation deemed confidential.
Is hushed and silence defends.
Why was the public shut out of discussions on protecting children? Remember, there are children. Maybe you aren't concerned about what your children or grandchildren are being exposed to and getting into their hands, but we the people are. We've heard excuses that this will take time. No, not to a child. It only takes one page to pervert a child's mind. We are tired of your so-called red tape delays. Explain the delays to us openly. Exactly what and why the delays take so much time. A clear explanation will show your honesty. We have already heard that you're more worried about not wanting to get the liberals fired up. Well, have you heard about having a bunch of mama bears getting after you when they realize what you have not done to protect their children? I can't even believe that you would have one godly reason to keep this material on the shelves and in their hands for even one more day.